Thank God it's Friday. Rise and shine, as Kaide would say. Good morning and welcome to the morning brief on Channels Television. We're back and better. I am Bukola Koka. Hi, guys.
What happens to the course? We're waiting for you.
Back and better. Just keep it short.
Okay, today is
BAB.
Keep it short and simple.
No, right. Apart from that, today's Friday, so it's easy Friday, easy peasy Friday.
So days that are chill don't have quotes. Is that what you're saying?
Okay, no stress. Everything's just smooth.
Rest is therapeutic for us, so Jeffrey.
Welcome to the show. I'm Jeffrey Uzama. Let me also keep it simple.
But whatever happened to thank God it's Monday, thank God it's Tuesday, thank God it's Wednesday, thank God it's Thursday. Why is it only thank God it's Friday?
Yeah. It's a thing of the mind, really, because Monday means it's time to roll up your sleeves and work. Oh. But Friday, it's time to paint the town red.
Let's do this. Take a brief seconds, and we'll be back with what we have for you on the show this morning. I'm Kaide Kikulu.
That's why it's good to reset.
That's what happens when you hype Friday too much. So thank God it's Monday on Monday, guys. Thank God it's Tuesday on Tuesday. We'll do it across board. Every weekday matters.
Okay.
Right.
So
I like that
starting on Monday, we'll be deliberate about being thankful for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday,
I think
Thursday,
that
Friday.
orientation of thank God it's Friday has to come from people in corporate world. Where,
right?
Man, the grind started on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. On Friday, I can't just wait. Although civil servants start on Thursday, by the way. No disrespect. I have brothers who work in the civil service. I know it works there. But they work on Fridays. But from what I see, something like by Thursday, everybody begins to wind down. But for the rest of us, Friday, you want to chill, you want to relax, you want to stay with your family. Friday, Saturday, and then you're back to the grind again. So it's like a cycle, you know. So that's why we say thank God it's Friday. It's not as if Monday is bad or Tuesday is bad. You know, Wednesday is not bad. Thursday is not bad either. But thank God it's still Friday.
Justice for all the weekdays, guys.
Thank you, Jeffrey, for that articulate explanation. I mean, we've been flying. It's like being in the air, traveling at an altitude of 35,000, as they say in the aircraft, and then you finally get a safe landing. And, you know, you have to rest from the jet lag.
Kaide, does it happen to you? I love to fly, but you know that being in the air is not natural.
Right.
Does it get to you? Like whatever happened, there was a day I was in this aircraft. We're heading, I think Port Harcourt to Lagos or something. And then we got to Lagos, the weather was so bad. That was the first time you realize that God is in heaven, then men are... It was so you could look outside, you don't see nothing. Everywhere was literally dark. The pilot was not seeing. And so when Lagos were just roving like that, the pilot spoke to us the first time, more like chill, relax, blah, blah, blah. It's okay, we're still alive. He spoke to us the second time. And then there was a time he now said that if the weather doesn't get better, maybe you have to go back to maybe Augusta or somewhere, you know. So, okay, just do this thing quickly.
Nighttime travel or daytime travel? Okay.
Do this thing quickly before this field finish, because it's not going to be a crash. It's going to be a drop, literally. So when the guy became quiet and wasn't talking to us, I noticed that the anxiety in the plane went to another level. People were heading to the convenience and all of that. But there was this guy who seemed to understand plane a lot, and he was just making everybody cool. He was telling me, see, it's a small plane, that's why this turbulence is affecting us. I said, guy, let's just get down first. But we don't realize we're down at the airport. Everybody started clapping.
That's a Friday feeling.
So that's a Friday feeling.
No,
I just gave you a clear
That's
pitch.
not just a Friday feeling. That's a life saving. Thank God I have my life back feeling.
We thank God for your life, Jeffrey.
Yes, Jeffrey.
I've seen turbulence in the air a couple of times. So, but it's the usual. Bukola.
Yes, we have quite a lot lined up for today. But before we go into that, speaking of trouble or turbulence on land, we hope that it doesn't get to turbulence. There's a video by a citizen journalist that we want to speak to this morning, and it's about what seems to be illegal collection of toll from burden bearers who need to access the pedestrian bridge and alight at the other side. There you have it. Let's have that video first of all, and then we'll speak to it. Approaching the pedestrian bridge.
So you can see clearly the gentleman standing standing by the foot of the pedestrian bridge, waiting for anybody. Bukola says it's burden bearers. Let's break it down. People that are carrying load in the Nigerian Thames. So you can see the lady. She's with her load, she's with her burden, whatever Bukola wants to call it, and then the guy is asking for whatever it is he's asking for some sort of a levy.
And evidently, something has exchanged hands, and it has to be money. There's another that will approach the bridge, shortly, in a few moments, and it's the same process. So, on whose authority or on whose mandate is that tax collector acting, and who collects that money? Who does he remit it to? What's the essence, of the collection? It's a public facility, that everyone should be able to access. We always cry foul when there are no pedestrian bridges in strategic locations, particularly in trunk B roads that are connected to residential areas for safety of commuters. But there we have some of these facilities, and we have, people who are collecting illegal taxes from those who are using the bridges. So
there's nothing illegal taxes. These are criminals.
Yeah.
These are hoodlums. Let's call the name what it is. There's no way to explain this. This is a crime. Whether it's a civil offense, I don't know what's called. The lawyers will be in a better position. These are hoodlums, literally. Okay, let's even break it down. What value is he even bringing to the table? What exactly? If I pay you that money, what are you going to help with? If he was collecting the money, say, let me help you with the load or the burden, as you call it, across the bridge. It's a different kettle of fish. So what is the value he's bringing to the table? And this thing is quite common in parts of Lagos and notorious, and we had the government has swung in action, and we're very excited about that. How do you just see somebody carrying whatever they are carrying, innocent individuals carrying their load, using the pedestrian, and then you come from nowhere asking for what exactly? For what exactly? So we don't know when this happened. We don't know where this happened.
The exact location.
But we can see this video. If it's happening, I think it's very unfortunate. And this is also trending on the social media.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's good to see that, as you said, Jeffrey, the government has swung into action, and they've arrested the hoodlums, as you put it, collecting levy, whatever you want to call it, on the pedestrian bridge. And this is just what happens when, question is, what happened to local government or the local council development authority, right? Again, they must have some sort of backing to be able to do this brazenly. So do they have a backing from the so-called area boys, from the so-called, is it Agberos, or from the so-called, there's always some sort of, obviously, there's some sort of structure that is empowering this. So it's good to arrest the hoodlums, but then you need to dismantle that structure as well and probe deeper. Because what we see is you make arrests, they go back inside and find some other innovative ways to keep doing what they do, because they also need that money to oil their system. So it's good to see the arrest has been made, but the government needs to go further and ensure that that whole structure, whichever it is, legal or illegal, is dismantled in its entirety.
My worry is how this will be sustained such that it doesn't become normalized, as you say, dismantling that structure. Because if it is not dismantled in its entirety, then it will now become effective to the extent that, you find it in all pedestrian bridges, particularly in Lagos, where the area boy culture is rife. And if you're a regular user of those pedestrian bridges, you would worry about the cleanliness, of those bridges. You worry about your safety on those pedestrian bridges, particularly at night times when area boys, are loitering around. And you know what that means. It means your safety is not guaranteed if you must use that area bridge at night time. So more often than not, at those bus stops, particularly in the Ojota and K2 areas, you find more commuters crossing the expressway rather than using the pedestrian bridges. So those structures must be dismantled so that it doesn't become what we now find to be area boys in many bus stops in Lagos, collecting illegal tolls that have now been normalized and remitted to parks.
It happens even in markets. I hear people just get into some market, you buy stuff, as soon as your load gets to the ground, somebody just surrounds you. I want you to pay. My question is, to the area boys, if you're watching, what value are you adding? Maybe you have a value we're not seeing. Maybe we can start a conversation from there. But this has to stop. We're grateful to the Lagos State government for doing what they have to do to swing into action.
Doing their job,
because,
essentially.
yes, because citizens need to feel safe and not worry about things like this. If Lagos has to become that mega city, then they should be far away from that aspiration. Bukola, what do we have?
We have quite a lot starting this morning with a question. Did you know that Nigerians are resorting to loan apps to augment their income for things as basic as feeding? Now, this comes amid rising inflation and equally rising cost of commodities. So this morning, we find out how these easy and quick loan options turn out to be Greek gifts for desperate and unsuspecting Nigerians. And we seek guidance also on the terms and conditions so that everyone can be educated before they continue to subscribe.
Oh, big one, really, that conversation. But that's not all. Now, as many more creatives turn to politics in pursuit of a second, or what you can call alternative career path, this stirred up our curiosity, and I'm sure yours as well, about their motivation and the connection between the two fields. Nollywood great and governorship hopeful Paul Obazele joins us today, and he shares his own personal story.
That's not all we have for you. Of course, a gentleman will be joining us at some point in the program to bring to us some level of reimagination of our ancient culture through music and curating culture in a very unique way, all the way in the United States, So we're exporting culture as much as possible. That is exactly what you'll be hearing. What exactly is he doing in the United States, and how is he able to galvanize and aggregate Africans in diaspora in pushing forward our culture? We'll talk about that on a lighter note later on the show.
Speaking of what to talk about, so many subjects this morning. So we're also calling for your contributions and comments. You can post to us on X, even on Facebook and on Instagram. We have all our social media handles on all those platforms. Of course, you can also send us your videos so that we can amplify them. We can speak to them as we did this morning with that one from a pedestrian bridge in Lagos where illegal tolls are being collected. So that could also be your first talking point this morning. So we're expecting all of your contributions. After this break, it will be time for your top stories to also set you in the mood to begin to type. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the morning brief. And top on the brief this morning, the outrage felt across the land over the gruesome killing of 17 soldiers in Delta State is still very visible. And the army has vowed that it will not rest until those behind the killing in Okwama community of Delta State are fished out. To this end, the Nigerian army is soliciting the assistance of the people of the area with information that will lead to the apprehension of the perpetrators and of their weapons. The General Officer commanding 6th Division, Nigerian Army Port Harcourt, Major General Jamal Abdulsalam, said this when the management of the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, visited him to condole with the Nigerian Army over the incident.
No harm will come to anybody. We will continue to conduct our operations in a very professional manner. We appeal to communities to assist us with information regarding the location of our weapons and location of these fleeing criminals. Because if you have information on these issues and give them, you are also an accessory to act. The Armed Forces is a symbol of our democracy. All of us in the Armed Forces who are good to defend our mission is to get our weapons that have been handed away by these criminals back and to arrest all those that took part in the gruesome murder of our officers and soldiers. Therefore, we're going to be in creeks until those objectives are met.
In the meantime, the governor of Delta State, Sheriff Oborevori, has cautioned traditional rulers in the state against shielding those involved in the killing of the military personnel in Okwama community. Governor Oborevori gave the stern warning while meeting with the traditional rulers at the State House.
Those people who committed that evil act must face the wrath of the Lord. Both shield those people. Because Delta State is covered between the tenets of the law of law and human decency. You cannot tolerate that from ourselves. It has not happened in this day before. Oh, lost it. 2 measures, 1 captain, and 60 soldiers. We will not have that happen in this state. But the question is, it has happened. What do we do? Is to fish out those who are involved. Any people, these are all people. Any kingdom that is hiding there, you should know that that kingdom will face sentence. Don't hide anybody. Don't shield anybody.
Now, there are more reactions coming through to the Okwama incident as a former state director of the Department of State Services, Mr. Mike Ejiofor, is calling for an independent investigation into the gruesome murder of the 17 military personnel. According to him, an objective inquiry could indict very important personalities on the matter. Mr. Ejiofor, who was a guest on Channels Television Sunrise Daily, cautioned the army against being emotional in its response to the incident in Okwama.
I feel that by now, the federal government or the state government must have set up an investigative panel to look into this matter because time is running. People are abandoned their communities. No life is the military has taken over the community, and I just can't understand why the delay in setting up this investigative panel. We need to get to the root of that matter to know exactly what happened. I think many things are not adding up. Was talking of precedents, what happened during Odi? Nothing came out of it. We talk of Zaki Biam, nothing came out of it. And it is now following that same trend that people will go take laws into their hands. 2 wrongs cannot make a right. Like I said when we started, the gruesome murder of those, and looking at mutilating their, I mean, we've lost our values, like I said before. I still can't come to terms with that. But the military too, out of emotion, has taken their pound of flesh by raising down the community, even though they say they didn't. Then investigation will prove who raised the community. Let us look at an independent body of inquiry. The federal government or the state government should, at various levels, set up or they harmonize. The state government brings representative, the federal government brings representative, and form a very high-powered, independent investigation that will come out with an objective report of what happened. Because as it is now, people are scampering, influence, some people that might be indicted in this investigation because the military, lieutenant colonel, major, two majors, cannot on their own just move out on a peacekeeping mission in a community. And the people are not. There's so much to this incident that must be found out.
There's more on security as Nigerian army troops working in collaboration with vigilantes have eliminated a dangerous terrorist who was masquerading as a police officer in Sokoto State to perpetrate heinous crimes. The violent extremist who was eliminated on Wednesday, the 20th of March, had often employed disguise to deceive and kidnap unsuspecting victims. The sting operation was conducted following credible intelligence, and the suspect was neutralized in a gun battle with the troops. The troops also uncovered and destroyed a house used as a covert facility by insurgent kingpins to store drugs and administer treatment to wounded insurgents. In other stories, in efforts to achieve the state police structure appears to have received a boost as the National Economic Council has received memoranda from 16 state governors who have indicated support for the establishment of state policing. This was made known in a preliminary report submitted to the National Economic Council at its 140th meeting held virtually and chaired by Vice President Kashim Shettima.
As we review the progress of the interventions and deliberations we have championed to prevent natural disasters across Nigeria, we combat crude oil theft in the Niger Delta to alleviate the short-term inflationary impacts of our economic savings decisions, to mitigate environmental damage and to curb revenue loss. Let us maintain that none of these efforts will resonate with the people unless we prioritize job creation and skill development at every corner of the nation. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I want to assure you that we are not going to pause our efforts until our people are basking in the opportunities we promise. This is why the prioritization of skills acquisition and job creation is central to our agenda. They are also part of the foundational pillars of His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's 8-point agenda. Hence, we will review existing measures to ensure ease of doing business and also prevent the investment in digital and creative enterprises IDICE program. This is in a bid to translate our ideas into concrete actions that foster economic growth and innovation. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we must remain consistent in implementing the initiatives that alleviate the suffering of our citizens and be accountable in doing so. We must also ensure that interventions we deploy are non-discriminatory and favor all stakeholders with no part of our communities or nation lagging behind.
Indeed, a major development there, and the expansion on that memoranda from 16 subnationals is sure to expand further in the coming days. But there's still more on security. This time, the arraignment of 4 persons suspected to be responsible for the murder of the traditional ruler of Amanze Obowo Autonomous Community in Imo State, Eze Basil Njoku, has been stalled at the Federal High Court, Abuja. This follows a presentation by the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation seeking to take over the case. The trial judge, Justice Binta Nyako, subsequently adjourned the case to April the 15th.
This is a charge on terrorism, and the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation sent a counsel to take over the charge. And the counsel that came to court said they have written to the Office of the Inspector General of Police to transfer the case file since September last year. And the Office of the Inspector General of Police refused to transfer the case file. And they wrote a reminder in February, and they have not gotten a response.
And now to business. UK multinational financial institution Standard Chartered Bank says it expects global oil demand to reach unprecedented levels in May. That will be May 2024, due to ongoing geopolitical tensions and supply constraints in the energy markets. According to their latest analysis, key factors influencing this projection include stronger than expected demand growth observed in recent months, particularly in major economies recovering from the impact of geopolitical developments such as the conflict between Ukraine and Russia, which have raised concerns about potential disruptions to global oil supplies. Meanwhile, global oil prices have pulled back some of their previous gains, pressured by weaker U.S. gasoline demand data and reports of a United Nations draft resolution calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. And outside our shores, as the Israel-Gaza war rages, the United States has circulated for the first time a draft UN resolution calling for an immediate ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war as warnings grow of famine in besieged Gaza. The U.S. Secretary of State has flown to the Middle East to discuss a post-war plan to govern and secure Gaza. Antony Blinken's talks with Arab leaders in Saudi Arabia and then Egypt will focus on what the U.S. calls an architecture for lasting peace. It comes as witnesses say Israeli forces had escalated their operation around Al-Shifa Hospital in Gaza City, carrying out a number of airstrikes. Well, it's still Women's Month, and the message still rings through as Nigeria's athletics queen Tobi Amusan lived up to fans' expectations after blazing through the 100 meters hurdles final at the ongoing Africa Games in Ghana to win the gold medal. Amusan, who is the 100 meters world record holder, was a clear favorite ahead of the race and was shown a yellow after beating the gun for the first time, but lined up again. On the second time of the gun going off, Amusan did not make any mistake, sprinting to an easy win where she clocked a time of 12.89 seconds. The win means that Nigeria completed a hat-trick of Africa Games titles, having won the last two editions in Congo, Brazzaville and Rabat in Morocco. The other Nigerian athlete in the race, Faith Osamui, just missed out on a podium finish after running 13.77 seconds in the fourth place. Well, more encouragement to Faith as there'll be other opportunities. But, thank God for our women doing us proud at the Africa Games in Ghana. And that could be one of the things you're talking about. But Kade joins me now for a review of all of the themes. Hi, Kade.
Thank God for our men supporting our women, making us proud.
Yes, thank God for our men. For he, for she's.
Thank you. We'll take that. Goodness me. Quite a lot of talking points, actually. On that one, it's good to see Team Nigeria doing great stuff across the board. So second on the medals table, second to Egypt. We're ahead of South Africa. We're ahead of Ghana, as you would expect. Ghana, by the way, won that football match against the Falconets yesterday, but it's okay.
It's okay.
They can have that one.
Yeah,
okay?
but we still have our jollof, and there'll be another opportunity to defeat Ghana.
Absolutely. So let's delve into what you were saying this morning. Remember, you can be a part of the show. Hashtag CTV Morning Brief across the board, all social media platforms. And you can also send us a WhatsApp message. Let's hear from you. Videos, images, questions, comments, what have you. We are here for you on the show. Let's start off the trends with, the president banning foreign trips for ministers and other government officials. It's important to put the caveat, official foreign trips. And this is what you have to say.
And it's for a duration, by the way.
3 months.
3 months.
In the first instance.
In the first instance.
Yeah, absolutely. So first comment on this one is from Fidelis Okawe, who says, While the president's decision to suspend public funded trips by ministers and government officials may aim to curb unnecessary spending, it's crucial to consider the potential impact on official duties and international engagements which serve national interests.
And Chief Olu Allen is also talking, and he says, if strictly enforced, it will be a great move in the right direction to develop our own soil, making it more serene, like the like Europe and Dubai that they visit frequently. Now our hospitals will function. I believe that is the expectation, but only if money saved from this tightening of belt and savings on foreign trips will be deployed appropriately to sectors that need them.
Just to say that this also doesn't stop private medical trips abroad, because I saw the point about the hospitals, but it's important, of course, to make that point that we need to fix what we have inside it, because we have so much potential. Chinasi Franklin is next with this statement. It's quite interesting to see the different angles to this. It is not feasible. Almost all the ministers need some foreign trips to do their jobs. Example, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Minister of Trade, Minister of Finance. If you check the second paragraph of that memo, by the way, was dated March the 12th or thereabouts, it actually says you can actually seek the president's approval if that trip is
absolutely necessary.
So I think all of these ones should come under that provision.
Yeah, this next one is from Avocado, and they say, why is the presidency not included? If truly he wants to change the status quo, he should lead by example. Well, the president has also cut down on the number of delegation accompanying him on trips abroad.
Yeah.
I believe that is also true.
Yeah.
So there's some form of leadership by example.
Yeah. And we're following to see if all of that is really followed through with. But travel, when it comes to official visits, is not the only thing trending. Travel for Nigerians, which we've called Japa, is also big in the news, and I think I've lost count for how many times Japa has been big story on trending. And this one is particularly on the backdrop of what the wife of the president said, that Nigerians abroad are taking on jobs that they refuse to do at home. That's from First Lady Senator Oluremi Tinubu. And this is what this user, see, his name. Okay, let's start with this one from Up Niger. Say, if Nigeria provided a conducive environment for its citizens to work and set up thriving businesses, they wouldn't have to leave the country to do certain jobs. Besides, these menial jobs enable them to send forex to their loved ones in Nigeria to survive. Says.
This one is from Olu, and it's a brief one. Olu says, I think their motivation for such low-level jobs is the value of the remuneration in Naira, which is the point, really, because for those who are taking up those menial jobs, they do their calculation about what they're earning in Naira, and that enables them send, those very precious dollars home. And he continues, although the bills in those countries will make them have almost nothing left.
Okay, so that's another side to the conversation around sending money back home. But that's what we have for you. It's just a snapshot. We'll be taking your comments during the course of the program this morning, so don't forget to send them in on the show. All
right, we have more.
Yeah.
We have more
conversations.
Yeah. This one is from Balo. Oh, we're wrapping up. Okay. So
Bukola loves your comments so much. You can spend the next day taking them.
This is the best part, Some of your humorous comments get us chuckling. But we'll take a break now. When we return, we'll start off with the first leg of our conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
This conversation has to do with loan sharks, or what they call digital money lenders. And some of you have had that experience, and it wasn't or hasn't been a very pleasant one. So what exactly is this, and why do they deploy some of the techniques in their recovery process? And why do people still head there to get loans from these loan sharks? That's exactly what we'll be talking about. We're being joined on the program by Muyiwa Jimmy, the CEO of Consumetrics. He joins us via Zoom. Thank you so much, Muyiwa, for coming on the program.
Morning. Thanks for having me.
I will also have a legal practitioner and national coordinator, advocates for people's rights and justice, joining us from our Abuja studio, Mr. Victor Giwa. Mr. Giwa, thank you for coming on the program.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you for having me.
Gentlemen, I want to come to both of you at the same time. Maybe I'll start from Mr. Giwa, and then Mr. Ayojimi can take it up from there. Naturally, if you're heading to a space where there's hostility and you survive that hostility, you will put some level of caution in heading in that direction another time. But when it comes to loan sharks, despite the recovery techniques we've seen in terms of harassment for the people who are owing them, people still head back there to get this low credit facility. What do you think is going on?
Well, thank you very much. I was thinking you were going to ask Muyiwa first because he seems to be in the field. But
let me go to Muyiwa.
Answer your question.
Since you want that, let's get to Muyiwa.
All right.
Since he's the expert, consumer. Yes. Mr. Muyiwa, I guess that question is for you now.
Delivered credit is, it has expanded a lot in Nigeria today and within the financial space. You will find that it took its root from the pre-post-COVID era, where people needed to, over time, get small loans, to augment some of their business concerns. This digital loan has been driven by very, very strong customer demand. So there is a demand. Today we are saying that there is high inflation, put at about 31% or thereabout. We're saying that, the level with which people can access even credits in the brick and mortar banks, is not only difficult right now, the hurdles is enormous. And so what do people need such loans for? You see things as easy as I won't call it minute, but as important as augmenting fees, school fees, augmenting rents, augmenting hospital bills in some instances, would give room for people to still keep going back to them. And that's what you're saying, that why, despite the fact that the sharks, out there are about their recovery in some manner that it's, call it unprofessional, you still find out that people return back to take some of these soft loans. And again, we will keep seeing that because research has shown that people who have borrowed funds within that period, put it 2019, 2020, down up till now, when the digital credit industry really started to boom, still find it very convenient. They don't have to sit in front of anybody. They don't have to have physical contacts, because some people attribute borrowing to something that is some people are borrowing shy, but they are shy in borrowing funds. So we will still continue to see an increase in that. If you look at what the CBN in terms of the monetary policy rates has come up with, today, lending rate is about 27+%, right? That has risen from the 14% in December 2023. So we will continue to see an increase in digital lenders, whether we like it or not. As a matter of fact, some of the conventional banks today as well have devised means, to be part of that stream of income as well.
Let's now head back to Ms. Amuyiwa. I guess Ms. Ayojimi has laid some basic foundation you can respond to, because if you're defending the people, I'm sure that they will say to you why they do the things they do. So maybe your first take on the question I asked.
Yes, thank you very much. I just wanted him to give us some. But basically, in answering your question, the reason why people still patronize some of these digital lenders is very simple. Firstly, we have a dysfunctional system. Two, people don't obey simple laws. And thirdly, the government has failed in its regulatory function. Now, what do I mean? I said, first of all, we have a dysfunctional system. Normally, what you should do when you need, why do people go in the first place to get a loan? It's because they just need something to augment their livelihood. I am a salary earner. My salary in salaries in Nigeria is paid almost at the end of each month. For example, 28th, 29th of every month. But for government officials, sometimes they owe you 2 to 3 months salary. So, and people now revert to somebody who could give them loan so that they can sustain their livelihood. But where will you get this loan from? When you go and approach a bank, your bank, you have an account with a bank, and you say, look, I am a salary earner. I earn 100,000 a month, but for the past 3 months, and I work with a government agency, but for the past 2 months, I've not been paid. I just need you to give me 50,000. Let me just buy some, some things in my house, Bonvita, soap, shirts, to just take care of my basic needs. No bank will give you that. In short, when you want to take that kind of loan, they will even tell you to bring the whole house you have. They will tell you to even bring the car you are using to take to work. They will tell you to bring your mother's certificate, your late mother. And so there is no functional system. So the only way people can revert to, the only means they can revert to sustain their livelihood is to go back to these digital lenders, people who will say, oh, come and take 100,000, and in 1 week you give me 200,000. Or come and take 100,000, and in 2 weeks you give me, or in 1 month you give me 200,000. People fall into those digital lenders because of the fact that there is no functional structure. If I know that I can approach my bank, or if I know that government has a facility that I can ask for 100,000, or I can ask for 50,000, and the money is given to me, I won't patronize digital lenders who are giving money not because they are interested in your livelihood, but because they want to make profit. So if we go into details, you will see that the digital money lender are doing it for the purpose of making profit and not for the welfare of the citizens or for the welfare of the customers. Normally, when people ask for petty loans, you should look at the welfare. What do they want to do with the money? They want to buy their normal groceries. They want to buy little things to take care of their family. They want to buy baby food. They want to pay maybe their monthly rent, or they just want to add money to the money they have to do a particular thing, which is usually for a very short time. But for God's sake, which of the banks will give you that kind of facility? And so that is the reason why, irrespective of the harshness, irrespective of the difficulties, irrespective of the punishment imposed by these digital lenders and embarrassment, people still fall back to these same digital lenders.
Well, at the level of regulation, reports say that the CBN has approved license for as many as 160 of those banks. And if those reports are true, some of what you have spoken to now, sir, that you get loans for 100,000 and you are supposed to pay 200,000 naira back. Do we see regulation in that digital lending space to protect the interests of those who are seeking those loans? You can answer that, and then we'll also go to Mr. Muiwa.
Okay, firstly, I will tell you that digital lending falls under money lenders' business. So in money lending, we have laws and regulation that regulate money lenders. For example, we used to have the Money Lender Ordinances of 1927, which was adopted from England. But after some time, the issue of money lending now fell into the concurrent list. And so what we have now is the money lenders law of each of the states. So Cross River State has its money lender law. Edo State has its money lender law. River State has its money lender law, and each of the states like that. So to begin with, there are regulations. For you to be a money lender, whether you are a digital money lender or whatever, you fall under the definition of a money lender under Section 2(1) of the money lender law. And who is a money lender? A money lender is somebody who does lending of money as business, who lends on interest for the purpose of, or who gives somebody certain amount of money in consideration of a larger amount in return. Now, I am defining this thing so that you know what is the intention of a money lender. So the money lender intention actually is to give you a certain amount of money and getting you to repay it back with a larger sum. With a larger sum. Now, under the law, they are supposed to be regulated. They are supposed to give out a license. As a matter of fact, for you to be a money lender, under the money lender laws of some states, especially that of Cross River State, Section 2, 3, and 4 says that before you become a money lender, a magistrate is supposed to give you a certificate of fit and properness, that you are fit and proper, so that you don't exploit people. Because the idea of the law is to prevent exploitation of the borrowers. Because just like it is in the Bible, a borrower is a slave to the lender. So when you are lending money, the person who takes the money becomes your slaves. And in this money lending business, the lender exploits the borrower because it is presumed that the borrower has no option. And so the law was made to protect the borrower. So what happened is that government have made certain regulations. One, to make sure that you must be a licensed money lender. One, and for you to be a money lender, you must get a magistrate certificate to show that you are good in character and in disposition.
If I may come
Two,
in there.
you must also...
If I may come in there, I guess what I'm asking is, under those state money lenders acts that you have expounded upon, what exactly is the interest rate? Because as a lender, even though I'm unsuspecting, I wouldn't go for a loan that would be requiring me to pay 100% in return by the time I'm paying back. 200,000 for 100,000 is quite a lot, and it speaks to the pursuit of inordinate gain by the digital money lenders. So what is the prescribed interest rate under those state acts?
Yeah, the interest rate varies. Because it depends on, like I said, each state has their laws, and so they have benchmark certain amount as interest. For example, some will tell you for every 1,000, for every 10,000 you borrow, you pay a 50 naira as interest. for every 10,000, 20,000 you borrow, you pay 1 naira. It depends on each of the states. But the major problem is that most of the borrowers who sometimes are illiterate in letters, who sometimes are ignorant of the law, go into this transaction without reverting back to what the law says. For example, it is an offense for a money lender to lend money above the statutory recommended interest rate. As a matter of fact, the law says that when a money lender lend you money higher than the prescribed interest rate, you are not supposed to pay that money lender because he has violated the law, and that contract become unenforceable.
So there's violation
against the borrower.
So there's violation on both parts, both on the part of the lender and on the part of the borrower. Let's come to Mr. Ayojimi now. Mr. Ayojimi, let's have your thoughts on the same question.
Okay, so we're talking about lending structured institutionally, either by CBN or thereabout. What is obtainable today is that you have digital loan apps that are not subjected primarily to the laws in this clime. You know, all of what has been emphasized by my colleague there is pretty much within the ambit of I'm registered with the CBN. Definitely, I have some money deposited as security, and invariably, I also have a certain level of access. Ditto for the regular banks today, which would also receive certain subventions from CBN. We're talking about private investors. We're talking about private investments. A Mr. A, in partnership with a Mr. B, having a pool of funds, set up digital apps for the purposes of lending out money. So, I mean, I think we should talk about the risk and problems associated with the digital credit system for consumer protection purposes, you know, and also highlight the unethical repayment and collection issues. One thing is clear: the lenders are in business, the lenders are existing to serve a need. Take, for example, I was somewhere in the lobby of an hotel very recently, and I was eavesdropping someone on the phone whom I didn't even know, saying that, look, I need that money urgently. Guess what? Give me, I'm going to give you, I think it was 200,000, and I will give you 250,000. It's a desperate borrower. So regardless of whether you see the terms and conditions ahead, your need can trigger your appetite for borrowing. If a borrower needs money very urgently, he can at that point in time, depending on the desperation, determine that, oh, is that the interest rate? I'll go for it. At that point in time, a contract has been struck. So regardless of whatever the law says in terms of this is what the interest rate will be, this is what the interest rates ought to be, number one is to say that there are certain category of these lenders that would not fall within that ambit. Secondly is whenever a borrower triggers that acceptance, it means that that terms, you know, is definitely acceptable to that borrower. But what we are saying critically, which is something which is a food for thought, and I think sometimes last year the FCCPC did a very good job of that,
Right.
was the fact that they were able to say, look, unethical repayment and collection issues must be dealt with. Okay? Appropriate or inappropriate credit product packages, credit designs, must, or data privacy infringements by these lenders. And that's where they begin to send text messages all through to the contact persons of the borrower, saying so many, things derogatory to the borrower.
Well,
and so they came up with structuring, the lenders within that bracket, because there has to be a partnership. There was partnership at some point in time with Google, to say that, look, some of these apps would have to be removed.
And I know that
So
Consumetrics, pardon me, I know Consumetrics has also done some work. You brought together some of the key stakeholders from FCCPC to the, the representatives of the banking sector and the rest. But just to put some more bites to that point you were making, I'm going to read an excerpt from one of those messages sent to, the contact of someone who borrowed money. And this is what he says: debtor. It's not dear debtor, it's just debtor. You have chosen to ridicule yourself and your innocent family in a shameful manner, despite their non-involvement in your alleged loan fraud, but they will be fully implicated with your fraudulent decision. On the contrary, we promise not to disappoint you with our humiliating actions, as you will bear the full brunt of your refusal towards your loan repayment from now. And then he puts the name of that particular loan app. And I think this is even nice if you look at it. There's some that they're worse. And for the people who are on the receiving end, by the way, it's an obvious contract for when the contract is done right. If you borrow money, you should pay back at the appropriate time. That point needs to be made. But for some of us who don't know how that thing happened, all we just see is messages and calls. By the way, because they have access to the contacts, they have access to emails, gallery, and the rest. It's in the terms and conditions. What should we do? Because we're also being harmed, emotionally harassed by this. So let me ask Mr. Giwa as we wind down on this, because there are millions of Nigerians who are in that bracket as well. They are not lenders, they are not borrowers, but they are like collateral damage. Mr. Giwa.
You see, that what you just read is not contractual. What you just read is defamatory, it is illegal, it is injurious. The author of such text message should be reported to the police for criminal defamation and threat, because when you have a civil transaction with a person or a company, and the person violates any of the terms of the contract, the only way to go is to go to court and pursue recovery process of how you recover your money. So for you to now send such a message, and some of them will send it even to the relation of the borrower who was not even privy of the contract, and start giving information about the person, that is criminal defamation, that is illegal, that is injurious, and it is very wrong. As a matter of fact, if there are regulations, those persons, the author of such text message, should be penalized. Their license should be withdrawn. I mean, some of them are not licensed lenders, but whoever the person is, whatever manner the contract they were executed, the person needs to be punished under the law. That is my own take on that. So whatever that person did is so wrong, is criminal defamation. They should report that person. Whether the person has failed in his contract to refund that money is a different kettle of fish. But that particular text is defamatory of the person, It's even it's criminal intimidation, and it's even an assault to the person that, a criminal charge can be preferred against that person.
Interesting. They always call these loan apps, they call them, and I'll translate from Yoruba to English. It's like putting your leg on a lantern. You know how the lantern keeps hurting you per minute. There's another one which, of course, I will not say. So let me come to metrics now, and ask you this frontally as well. So this practice obviously is still on, and by the way, there are loads of people who they have questions about this. But as we wind down on this conversation, what would you say is the way forward then? Because it seems we fought this battle. We've seen we won some, but of course it looks like we're losing some as well, because they seem to be coming out in droves and there is demand for them. So in about a minute, what is the way forward? People need money, but they need to do it responsibly, lend and borrow responsibly, and we shouldn't also be collateral damage.
Okay, so I think with the work we've done over time, there's been a framework and guidelines for digital lenders as we speak. If you check our website, check the FCCPC website, there are over 200 registered apps that have gone through what you can call a screening process. And this process has enabled them to identify that about 80 plus of them are on the watch list. I'm sure that the text message you read, if one is available of that platform, that loan app platform, might form part of those on the watch list for them to be delisted, with the kind of partnership that exists with Google today at the moment. Now, what do we do to all of this? I think KYC is important. Educating the consumer is important. Mr. Agewa was saying a while ago, what is contractual? To be honest, there are a lot of things that come on the platform, on our phones everywhere, that once it says terms and conditions, okay, accept, we press yes, and we move on. So when you say that text messages was sent to all the contacts on your phone, the borrower inadvertently would have said yes. Do you agree that when I want to recover money, these are yes. But what we are saying is that on top of the efforts that have been made over time now, I think there's need for a code of governance for the lenders. Okay, the full disclosure in terms of the terms and conditions, the preconditions to borrowing must be very clear, and that would also form part of what it is that the code for the money lenders, would arrive at.
That's a good place to just anchor that, because as we always say, people always go to these guys, but it's almost natural that we don't read terms and conditions. We just press agree. We're in perpetual agreement because they are convoluted. There are a lot of information. Who has time to list all of them? Maybe the regulators will help us go through these things, knowing we won't read them, so that we don't get ourselves into trouble. Because the people that are lending or collecting these monies or borrowing this money, they don't have the money to get the services of a lawyer to go through litigation. We must thank you, Mr. Amuyiwa Jimmy, CEO of Consumer Tricks, as well, who joined us via Zoom, as well as Mr. Victor Giwa, legal practitioner and national coordinator, advocate for people's rights and justice, joining us from our Abuja studios. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having us.
All right, when we come back after this break, we'll switch gears. So another leg of the conversation, like Bukola would like to say, join us again.
Politics meets Nollywood, or is that the case? Let's find out this morning. You've seen his image, and I'm sure this is probably not the first time you've seen him time and again from the small screens of black and white to the color television to the LCDs and the rest. And he's still right here. We have joining us on the show, Mr. Paul Obazile, a veteran actor, a former president, Association of Movie Producers, president, Edo Filmmakers Association, is a veteran, of course, award-winning as well. But add to that list, ADC governorship candidate for the coming Edo State governorship election. Mr. Obazile, good morning. Welcome to the Morning Brief.
Good morning, sir.
Your CV is quite long, and I didn't even read half of it, really. I just took some highlights just so we can have a conversation on the show this morning. Welcome to the Morning Brief. It's quite interesting because the conversation this morning is not about the work you've done for decades, or not just about that. It's about something you're planning to do for the next 4 years. You're running for governor in Edo State. You've been in the Labour Party. You've gone to the ZLP, and now you're in ADC. So speak to us now as, not as an actor, but as a politician that you are right now. Is it that you are trying to play different roles in those parties? You are testing your proficiency?
I try to run away from that word, a politician.
But you are a politician.
Am I?
Yes, you are.
I'm just a guy who wants to salvage the mess that we found ourselves. If you use that word, a politician, you drive people away. I drive you away.
It is what it is. You're in a political party. You're not just in a political party, you're the flag bearer of a political party.
Sponsored by a political party.
There you go. So, I mean, it doesn't get better than that.
Unanimously as the flag bearer of ADC, and that's a feat in Nigerian politics today.
Yeah, maybe because I have a very clean record to come in and do what I'm doing. Maybe because I have pen pushers like you and great talkers to say, okay, this man has done excellently well to vet me very well, put me in the pedestal where I am, and they saw that it could be actually no contest. It could be a situation where we want somebody that is marketable, somebody that is accepted by Nigerians, somebody who has a very clean record, somebody who can actually come out and stand his ground to tell you that this is this, and not change the goalposts when it favors him or her.
And it's quite interesting, the trajectory, the route you have taken to get to this point. Obviously something you're really gone in for. But I'd like you to speak to that question. Labour Party supporting Peter Obi, pushing for that. Move to ZLP, now ADC. And you'll see now you'll be up against candidates which your former principal, I don't know if it's still your principal, will be supporting. So why did you go through that route? What exactly?
I try as much as possible not to run people down. But the moment my ideals and yours does not meet, I take a step. I found myself in a place where the laborers of this country are supposed to be members of Labour Party, right? And if you come out and the ideals of what it is formed for is not met, why would I deceive myself? I'm a convener. I'm a fighter. I'm a man who believes that what is good for the goods is good for the gander. I'm a man who believes that you cannot take a group of people for a ride. I'm a man who believes that Edo Central should come up and lead. For 24 years of Edo State, there's nobody from that place that's been a governor or a deputy governor. And all of a sudden, some people decided to change the goalpost. If I push you back to what made my principal then, Peter, to leave PDP to get into Labour, it's the same thing, where somebody said the Southeast cannot be a president. And he left. And everybody got upset that why would it be that somebody from the Southeast cannot be? And we all en masse followed him. So you're not telling me that somebody from ASAN cannot be. I'm a proud Asian man. You can't tell me that. Why would you? Why would you all of a sudden make it for the highest bidder? So it therefore means that the workers of this country, they don't have the rights to contest for
Are you saying the current candidate of Labour Party is the highest bidder?
Sorry, I did not say. I just used a word.
Right.
So I like I said, I don't run people down. I don't. I try as much as possible. I give you a benefit of doubt. But once those things are not in tandem with my own ideals, I take a walk.
But did they give all aspirants a level playing field for participation?
I want to ask
if
you
it's
one
not
question.
a case of the highest leader.
We all are supposed to work for this nation. And what is our minimum wage? And somebody comes in to tell me that for me to get a ticket, I'm going to pay 30 million. If you work for 35 years of your life in this country, can you save 30 million? So what's the essence of working for this nation?
So sometimes the argument is that they...
So you now see what most aspirants faced. We came out for a party that is supposed to be for the workers of this nation. And you expect the workers of this nation to vote for you? So why do we actually allow people to weaponize poverty? You're a worker. How much do you earn? You have the rights to come out to express you what you want them there to give to you, and somebody tells you no. So, and somebody makes it so difficult for you to express you as a worker. It's evil.
Mr. President, if I may butt in, the argument sometimes, I also ask you how much would have been fair in your analysis, because I don't know how much you paid in the ADC. How much would have been fair? That's the first one. But the argument is that sometimes they try to discriminate by price so that it doesn't become an all-comers affair. Is that a fair argument?
I asked the question again. As a worker in this country, do you have the right to contest for what you think you can do?
You should.
Yes. Now, if somebody comes in to say, okay, let me stop you from doing it and give an opportunity to somebody who does not have the acumen you have, is it fair?
So who doesn't have the acumen that you have in this case?
I just asked the question. Now look at it. If somebody told me one time, you can't come in, you think it's a theater, you think it's a film, I felt insulted. So what's the difference between a lawyer and a filmmaker? What's projected this nation more? What's been able to launder the image of this nation more? Think about it. And you come out to tell me I don't have the rights to come out? Maybe because I don't go to steal monies from government coffers, or maybe because I don't have one big godfather, for example, or I don't have the people who can come together to say, let us, cronies who come together to say, let us push her. For example, she gets in there, and the only thing they do is when she gets in there, we will plunder the resources of the state. I could do that, I could get all my colleagues, raise all the funds for me. I get in there, I shut down, and I clean out. That's not what I want to do. We must change the narrative. And that is why most of us are angry about what is happening. Again, where is the place of the man who tills the soil of this country, of a man who weathered the storms of this country, of a man who gives out 35 years of his life for this country, of a man who, after working, his pension is not paid to him, of a man who will have a son who will say, okay, let me even come and contest, even as a councillor. And yet he cannot get it because the money bags are there to stop them and enslave the people who are there.
So let's stretch the argument further. Mondo Pebolo, Aswe Godalo, Olumide Apata, several others, including yourself, want Obaseki's job. So let me ask you who is seated here. Why do you want Obaseki's job when he leaves office?
I just told you to change the narrative of what my people is. Do you know we live in abject poverty in Edo State? I went somewhere. Precisely December 18th. I went for the burial of a two-time House of Assembly member, a prominent person. Call him a philanthropist. He's worked so hard. And I got in there. My brother was offered, they moved me to a special place. I am not a man who excludes himself. I move with people. I told them, no, I'll sit with people. And they were like, no. I said, no, that's not me. And I got in there with great shock and disbelief. I saw these kids. They were scraping the leftover of food. But I noticed the bag was heavy. I said, they must have lots of dogs in that place. And somebody told me, no, as a meal they are going to eat. You know how heartbroken I was? Our leftovers. A boy of 9 years, 10 years, scraping that in a land that is full of food. And you reduce a human being to that level. I called the boy. I told him, leave. What do you want to? And he smiled. There's this, this childish smile, and he smiled like, maybe you don't know where we did. He said, that is meal for them. I said, okay, let me give you food. He said, I know. You give me food, but I will carry this one go house. I said, where house they? How many day house? And basically, is the breadwinner. Grandma was there. Grandpa is there. Other siblings are there. I said, go bring them, come. I went to meet my host. And I begged him. I said, can I have a cooler of food? My friends are here. He said, of course, anything you want. He said, can you move this way? I created a canopy for you. I said, no, sir, let me stay here. I stayed. This boy came with 7 people from the family. They ate. Guess what? That bag, he refused to let go. That is meal for tomorrow and the following day. Not only him. Now, sir, in that same gathering, a woman had 2 kids and somebody at the back. So I offered my own food to the woman. In the process of bringing this baby out, that food tripped on the sand, not a cemented place. And they were struggling to go and eat it. And you expect me to be happy?
But in playing the devil's advocate there, wouldn't this be, tottering on the fringes of the danger of a single story? Because the narrative from the other side would be that, look, Edo State is one of the states that is paying above the minimum wage. Edo State provided interventions.
When did you go to Edo State last?
Interventions. Pardon me. Let me land on the question. Interventions for palliatives, through transportation for citizens for quite some time. It's interventions in the education sector, just to mention a few. And the story about hunger in the land, is generic across states of the Federation.
I still asked you a question. When did you go to Edo State last?
It's not about when I went to Edo State last.
Now, I've been there. I traversed the 18 local governments. I saw it all. I'm not that kind that starts a journey and leave, and I'll leave it. I did not just say, let me come out. My people wanted me out. I said, okay, you are the kind of person that we need, because we thought it was a thing. Now, like I said from when I started, I'm not here to abuse or run anybody down. Obaseki has done his best. You understand it? Now, I told you I am here to change the narrative. And how I'm going to change the narrative is to let you be, let me be. Give you what is yours and take what is mine. Not take your own, take his own and his own and put it in my pocket. And wait for another 4 years so that I can use your resources, make you, impoverish you, and force you to vote for me. And give you what is your own. Where normally education is your own right. Where normally you are supposed to go through a good road. Where normally you are supposed to have water. Where normally you are supposed to have light. But I make it a big deal that I am providing it for you. And these things are supposed to be there. So where is government? Where I will come in and overtax you? Where for everything you do, you got to pay? It's a misnomer. Where I will erect an electric pole, I come to commission it? Where I will abuse taxpayers' monies? My dear, that is not it.
So some will say that, look, you're probably a beautiful bride for the ADC because of your marketable face, as you have referred to in the first place. But really, you have no chances in this election, and it's between probably a 3-horse race between the APC, the PDP, and the Labour Party. How do you respond to that?
Because you will want to think that, because of the fact, again, like I said, the weaponization of poverty, because of the fact that they have you have monies to throw about, because you want to buy the conscience of people, because you want to make them believe that it is only the rich that can be there, because you want to use a capitalist tendency to want to deal with the socialist problem. It goes beyond that. I tell people this: they give you money, eat the money, vote your conscience, because the money they're giving to you is your own money. That's the truth. There's a place in Ishan where the school does not have roof. If you want me to count it out, I'll count it out.
Is it a primary, secondary? Is it for the local government or for the state government? Which of the schools is it?
Is a local government thing. It's not a federal government thing. Every school, local school, is for the government thing. So it's not a private school.
Is it a primary or secondary?
It's a primary.
It's a primary school.
Yeah.
So
where we can also tell you that it's amazing that the entire Assam, most of the areas don't have lights. You know what it means that you look at Sulere and you look at part of Ikeja, there's no light? Take it, let me name it from you. Take it from Ubiaja, run through Ukwesa, go to Emu, go to Ewato. I'm calling names for you. There are no lights.
Quite a number of points you've made, and when you declared your ambition, and I know a lot of people said, okay, this is very interesting, changing the dynamics of things, and I imagine a lot of people will bring your experience and what you've been able to achieve in Nollywood into this, into politics, and people will say, if you've done it well in any other sector, you can as well do it well in another sector anyway, just bring the knowledge. But a lot of people will still want to know, you have a movie out of late, you've been promoting a movie, am I correct?
Yeah.
So let me just check the title. I saw a trailer for that movie, Reflections. Oh, beautiful. So speak to us about how you're balancing that dynamics. Whether you like it or not, you are still an actor. A lot of people still want to see you on the screen. Yes, maybe some want to see you in the government house. So how are you balancing? There you go. And by the way, you have been commended for championing the culture of Benin Kingdom very well. In fact, you're one of the people in Nollywood who have been commended for doing this. Again, whether that would translate to votes is another thing entirely. but speak to us. Speak to us about your career. Oh yes, it is beautiful. By the way, is this how you dress if you become governor?
No, jeans and shirts. We have works to do.
Absolutely. But speak to us about your career.
You're already there in your mind.
Yeah, in my mind, I will not be a fashion governor. I said people have manifestos. I don't have a manifesto. I have a covenant. I chose to use that strong word, covenant, because covenant is deeper. A situation where you tell me we agreed this. I was listening to you people about the shark people. Do you agree? I agree. I agree. You understand it? So we agreed this, and I'm going to carry it out. And the reason why I chose, sorry, I'm going to come back to you. The reason why I chose that word is because of my antecedents of the things I've achieved. Maybe if you go back to my career when I was a 2-time president of the Association of Movie Producers, you remember they called it a golden era. Why was it? We didn't record debts in my time. It was intentional. Intentional in the fact that, what can I give to you for you to trust me? Not what can you give to me. The association was in existence before. So I came in and said, no, let the association give. And I decided to give healthcare. And that's my number one priority in Edo State. That every born child of Edo must have a free healthcare system, HMO.
Brilliant.
So amazingly, how many are we in Edo State? 4,777,000 people, and you cannot provide 30,000 HMO for them. We all travel abroad. I keep using this ATM thing. If you give me your ATM card, I'll show you. The child is captured in that. The child's life is looked after from day 01 to 17. It's looked after. We run into those society to go into. They plan their lives. We refuse to plan our life. There's no street. Do you know that in Benin, our streets are not captured into our system? Amazingly, Edo State has what we call the Azura plant, and yet we don't have light.
Well, Mr.
It's normal. Yeah. Now my career.
See what I was saying, politician. We have only 2 minutes for you to
now
speak to this.
Yeah, what I do, it's a very simple thing. How do I do it? I try as much as possible to listen to the yearnings of people. We've not seen you for some time. Why did you leave? I didn't leave because I was cooking things, and our reflection came up. And we're doing a nationwide tour, and we're turning into a world tour, as it were. We just came back from Abuja last week, Saturday. Successful story. We've done Lagos, we've done Benin, and we are going to Asaba. The moment we finish there, we are going to London, and we are doing UK, we are doing America, and we are doing Germany. We must do it. We have about 4 films we're doing. Now, according to culture, I want to ask you one question. Do you know that the reason why London is thick today is that they told all their traditional stories? Thames, the Vikings, name it. How many of our traditional stories have we told?
And you're championing that?
Yes.
Absolutely. As we wind down, I think we'll need to have this conversation again, because you've turned out to be a hit with our audience, with lots of questions coming in.
Wow.
Speak to us. What happens if this is not successful?
What is not successful?
Your governorship ambition.
I will be the governor of Edo State.
What if you don't?
I will be.
Have you rigged it already?
I will be. I will not rig.
How do you know you will be?
What is mine?
How would you take it?
I will
vote eventually.
I will stand in there. They will not take my vote.
You only have one man, one vote.
Yes, one man, one vote, and people will come out to vote for me. We will change it.
How many people are you projecting?
How many people am I projecting? I will clear the entire eastern land. I will break the south and the north of Edo State.
So that's like 2 million votes.
I will break it. Trust me.
Well, because the last time we have the numbers, just barely about 10% of people elected Godwin Obaseki as governor, about 500,000 or so, as against about 4 point something or 5 million that he listed. So that's why we're asking these very straight questions, because it's about the game of numbers. You're up against, I swear, you're up against Akpata.
No, I'm not up against. Listen, I'm not up against you. They are up against me.
I like the optimism. I like the energy.
So what happens if you don't win?
Please, I don't have a no in my dictionary.
All right. What do you have in it?
It's a yes. I will be.
You have to take a cue from him, absolutely. A lot of people also want to know, is this a publicity for your movie, Reflections? Because they say instead of you doing a road show. So maybe on the side, when you're done with the campaign, you say, oh, by the way, I have a movie that is showing. I need to speak to those people right now.
No, honestly, there are two different things. There are two different things. When I come out to do my things, I take, there's this song, one step at a time, sweet Jesus. That's the only thing I ask for. I take a step at a time. I deal with the project at a time. I deal with that. I separate me from that. I have a team that is dealing with my political aspect. I have a team that is dealing with my career aspect. I run Royal Pictures Limited. I'm the founder owner of Legends of Nollywood. I don't interfere with these things. They tell me what they want, I go get it.
Interesting. Would like to thank you so much. Obviously, we'll need to bring you back on the show to break down your plan for Edo State. We need to really x-ray these issues.
You will see it. You will join me on the road show.
So let's do that. I'd like to thank you so much, though, Mr. Paul Obazele. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, a veteran award-winning actor, former president, Association of Movie Producers, president, Edo Filmmakers Association, also Legends of Nollywood.
Founder, Legends of
Nollywood. And the reason he's on the show today is because he's the governorship candidate of ADC. Thank you so much for your time. We wish you the very best.
I'm honored. I'm very, very honored. Thank you.
We'll go to break, but we'll be back with a very interesting conversation as well. It concerns a man who is doing great things with African culture in the US of A. You don't want to miss this. Stay with us.
mẹ́ta làtẹ́wọ́ ìrè o, àtẹ́wọ́. All right, let's do it together. Okay, we're gonna clap in threes. Break it out, break it out. All right, it's pretty easy. Wherever you are, let's do it together. All right, let's have a little concert right here. All right, let's practice first, and then we're gonna go together. Are you ready? Are you ready? Yeah! Good, all right. 1, 2, 3, let's go. Are you ready? Go. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's it, that's it, that's it, easy. 1, 2, 3. All right, just keep going, just go. 1, mẹ́ta mẹ́ta làtẹ́wọ́ ìrè o, àtẹ́wọ́. Oh yeah.
Beautiful tunes to set you in the Friday mood, and that's what entertainment does, really. You know, it's reminiscent of what our last guest said when he beat his chest to say, look, it's Nollywood that has projected Nigeria on the international scene. Speaking of projecting Nigeria positively, one individual that is doing that is our next guest, who is a singer, songwriter, and a culture enthusiast. Let's welcome Babatunde Ogunseinde, who joins us virtually from the United States. Good morning and welcome to the program. It's nice to have you.
Good morning.
So, reading about you, you have this vision for a village square in the diaspora that will attract all Nigerians, where they can continuously get a feel of the culture. What inspired this, and how did you create this space?
Thank you for having me, everyone. Good morning. It is to bring together all Africans, not Nigerians alone. And so we're going to have representatives from Tanzania, Angola, Ghana, Cape Verde, South Africa, Kenya, and all the likes. We have a huge African diaspora community here in Houston, Texas. And what inspired me is the love for the culture, basically. I just want to be authentic. I love it here in the United States. Also, will never forget my roots, my country, where I'm from.
So let's talk about some of the challenges. Let's begin from that, take it off from there, because this is not your natural space. You're trying to create a space outside your natural space. Let's talk about the level of acceptance and some of what you may consider the limitations you face in achieving this, because you're not just talking Nigeria, you're talking about Africa, and aggregating Africa, even in Africa, it's not been easy. Now, aggregating Africa in the diaspora, I know it could be a tall order. Walk us through that.
The biggest challenge for me right now would be is probably the language. Some people are not just open-minded. Also, I do live music. I do what people like to categorize as world music. Right now, Nigerian music is taking different turns. It's not Afrobeat. So if it doesn't sound like Afrobeat, then probably no, this is not what we want. We want the generic Afrobeat. This is part of the challenges. Of course, all my projects so far have been self-funded. I just go ahead and I go, okay, I want to do it by myself. So another challenge right now is funding, how to get sponsorship, have a bigger audience. But with consistency, we've been able to keep it going. And we played and performed at different stages. And we hope to just keep it going that way.
Brilliant. And I'm curious to know which of your songs have been a hit for the audience there. I've heard a couple of songs. Some of them I didn't hear. I mean, I've not heard them in like 20 plus years. You probably heard them when you were a child. There's one about a child who doesn't want to take a bath, and they'll chase the child to the riverside to take a bath. And then there's this one we've listened to. So I'd like you to speak to us about how they're connecting and which of them they are connecting with the most. We'll talk about the Black History Month, what you've done about that. But I'm just curious, when you said, you've curated some of them, which one has been the hit?
Well, the one is Babatunde Tikowe, Egbe Ududu. That means, a child or anyone that doesn't take a shower, take the river. I mean, I wish I wrote that song, but it's a folk song. I don't even know the original rights of that song. It's become a public domain, as I say.
But when I engage with the audience and I explain to them, then they start to poke jabs at each other, and people now to suggest who to sing for, whose name for me to call. So yeah, that has been a hit. I must say.
And it speaks to just how deep the folk songs are. It's not just music for you to move to. It's music that sends a message home. I mean, the song still haunts me till date. Each time I'm lethargic to take a bath, I remember the song and that you have to take your bath. And it just speaks to how rich the African culture is. Everything from the fashion to the music to even the proverbs, they have a message that goes with them. So how much have you been able to also bring that to bear? Yes, people are listening to the music, people are seeing the art, because you also curate as well. How much have you been able to bring that out to now show that this is what the African culture is actually about? We're not just about colors. The colors mean something, the songs mean something, and the rest.
Oh yes, like I say, the story. Every culture has the good side and bad side of it, and people come to me as a Nigerian to project the negative side of Nigerians, and I, try and take in the ones that I know that are true, but the ones that I know that I can share with other people, I use the opportunity to let them know. The outfits, it's just always a hit for me. I don't go anywhere without my fila, and then people see my fila and that gets them really curious. Okay, where are you from? Let me guess where you're from. You're obviously from Africa. Tell me more about where you're from. I'll tell you a quick story. There was one time I went to an event without my fila, and I passed through someone that I already knew, and she went, "Oh, you look familiar." I said, "Yes, me." I mentioned my name. She said, "Oh, all right, you're the guy that always wear your fila. You're not wearing your fila today. I couldn't recognize you." It wasn't easy to do because I always stick out I always look like a Christmas tree everywhere I go. But I keep doing it, and that has opened doors for me, I must say. With the Black History Month, curating Black History Month, and speaking at events and talking about our culture. And Houston, as it is right now, it's a huge city, and there's a diverse city. The different cultures, the African culture, Indian, Asian, of course, India's Asian culture, and all the rest. So it's an opportunity for me and for us and the rest of the team to highlight our culture and just have a good time expressing it ourselves.
Yeah, and I'm quite fascinated by that song that Kadi highlighted and the one that we listened to earlier on. It reminds me of my days in the theater group when we used to do those folk songs. I'm going to talk more about that, but let's get some more feel of what you're doing, through one of your songs, and then we'll be right back.
Because once we start, okay, we just keep going, okay? It may sound like we're doing some incantations, but it's all good. You're all safe. You're all good, all right? Lubu lubu tanyolo, jacoba dale. Emiola. Lubu tanyolo, jacoba dale. Emiola. Bobo araja olo, bobo balo. Miolama. Bobo araja olo, bobo balo se. Miolama. Kilo wade.
True confession. So some of us are new generation Yoruba, so we cannot do a total translation of what that song actually means, but partial translation. So, part of it is trying to say that you shouldn't tell on others, that gossip is not good. I'm going to leave Babatunde to do all of that. Babatunde, as you also, help us with a more adequate translation of the meaning of that song, tell us more, about your background, some of those things that formed you, that enables you to be able to document, these aspects of African culture. And by the way, there's a huge bouquet of all of those folk songs as far as, the Yoruba genre, culture is concerned. There are others in other cultures and other components that you're also trying to preserve. Would it be the folklore, the stories, and all of that? Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, all right. See, I'm trying to be as brief as possible. My background is, thank God for a good family. My father always, didn't shy away from playing music from different genres. He would play Fela song, Barrister, Kollington, Oliver the Pope, Jimmy Sholanke, Wole Soyinka, and I must give special credit to my cousin. Every Saturday when we were doing house chores, he would just, the vinyl, the turntable that we call the turntable, he would just play those songs like every Saturday. And I would just quietly sit down there while washing cars, while cleaning the house. I would just listen to those songs. And while I became a teenager, and those songs started coming back to me. And then I started seeing other people do it, and I started, going from there. So I would say I would credit my background, my introduction to music, church, of course, church music, but of different genres of music. My dad, my cousin, they played a very fantastic role with that. I've forgotten your second question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the other components, are you also working to preserve African stories, African folklore, proverbs, like how they mentioned earlier on? Yeah.
Oh yes. So I'm particularly working on a project right now called Yoruba, and I'm working to do it in an interactive way, like a call and response. I think it's very important for us to preserve that. I was in a group of people, scholars from all over the United States, but in particular Africans. We are from Senegal, Burkina Faso, Congo, and all that, and we're talking about documenting our history. And part of our challenges as Africans, in particular Nigerians, that we don't. Some do, I must give credit to people that do that, but some of us do not document our story. We do not document our history. If you're going to write a paper on Nigeria or Afrocentric issues, you probably have to go to quote an European that went to Congo or Ghana or Nigeria to do research and has written a book, and then you have to reference that person. But why don't we just go ahead and document our story? So that's what I'm trying to do right now. I'm doing the audio documentary of Owe Yoruba, and I'm trying to do it in an interactive way. Of course, making events and concerts and festivals like the Village Square.
All right, so I know that the American population over 300 million, so conquering that space can be a lot, but a little assignment I would like to add to your responsibility, and I will need you to promise, because when we watch trivia and TikTok on the social media, we're shocked at how ignorant some of these people are about Africa. So can you begin before the wisdom of Africa, can you at least help us add to that list that Africa is not a country, that we're actually over 50? How much of that do you see, and how shocked are you when you hear people, they don't even know anywhere else apart from Africa?
Oh yes, I get it a lot. When I always like to engage people in conversations, and when they speak, especially when they don't have the American accent, I go, let me guess where you're from. Are you from Belarus? You're from Iran and all that? And I go, guess where I'm from? I say, you're from Africa. I say, yes, I'm from Africa, but what country? I say, Africa. Africa has over 50 countries. Correct me if I'm wrong. And so yes, I get challenges like that. Even African Americans that are willing to go back to the continent do not know many African countries. They know Ghana and Nigeria and maybe Egypt. So these are the three major countries they mentioned to me.
Right.
So there's no opportunity for me to tell them more about Africa.
Absolutely. On a final note, as we wind down, do you miss home? Do you still have your ears to the ground? What do you think of home when you think about it, particularly the current situation in the country? I know you have to take a deep breath for that one, but we have to ask.
And to cap it off, Kadi, maybe you wrap it up with a proverb. Yeah, a proverb.
Okay. Let me do the promo first, and I'll finish up. Okay. I recently used the Tomo Deba Lasho Biagba, Lakisa Biagba. Do you want me to interpret that for you?
Absolutely.
Oh wow. Okay, I'll do the best of my luck. It's always very hard to do though. So Deba Lasho Biagba. I mean, so literally, if a child has good clothing, like an elderly person, the child can never have rags like an elderly person. So that means that, in my interpretation, is that over the years, elderly people have wisdom and experiences that the child or a younger person doesn't have yet. So that's interpretation. So yes, I'm in some candidate. I wish I'm live in the studio with you all, and I'll do my best to contribute my own quota as much as I can. I'll be home as soon as I can.
Possible. And your first stop will be the morning brief on Channels Television. Thank you so much, Babatunde Ogunseide, singer, songwriter, and culture enthusiast, preserving African culture in Houston, Texas.
Also, an education is interesting.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
That's our show on the Morning Brief this morning. Thank you so much for watching. Enjoy your weekend. I will be back again next week. I'm Bukola Koka.
Absolutely. It's been a great ride for the week. Enjoy your weekend. We'll be back again next week. I'm Jeffrey Uzama.
I'm Kaido Kikilu. Goodbye.